Welcome, directors, to challenge number 3. There's only 5 of you remaining today, and by the end of tomorrow, there'll only be 4. Dan, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back in the game.
Live, it's wonderful to be back.
Last challenge, you had immunity in the game, but your immune system wasn't on its game.
It wasn't.
Are you all excited for your next mini challenge?
Yeah.
Great. For this challenge, I will project publicity stills from 2016 and 2017 Shakespeare productions. Your task is to identify as many of the titles of the plays and either the venue or organization that created the piece. Shall we? And this is the first one.
So just the title of the play and where it was.
Correct, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Or the company that made it, whatever the case is.
Yeah.
Pens down. We'll start in the front row. Emily, what did you get?
13.
And Raph.
24.
And Alex.
23.
And Dan.
27.
And Hannah. 10. So that means, Dan, congratulations, you're the winner of this challenge. So, Dan, you'll get to choose your actors for the challenge first. Then Raph, you'll get to choose second. Then Alex, you'll get to choose third. Emily, you'll choose fourth. And Hannah, you'll choose, well, you won't choose. Each of the directing packs on the table have a different Shakespeare scene in them. You will have to direct the scene in under 3 minutes. You are encouraged to be as imaginative as you wish with the scenes. Treat the scene as a taster for what you might do with a full production of that play. And with that in mind, you will be creating a publicity still for the scene you're making that will also be presented to the judges. The criteria on this challenge is creativity, publicity still, and overall direction. Alex, you have immunity going into this challenge and cannot be eliminated. You also have the last immunity in the game. So the winner of this challenge will receive a special bonus going into the next challenge, but will not receive immunity. You have until 2 o'clock tomorrow to work on the scenes, and because you have so much time, I do anticipate that your actors will know their lines going into it. So now all that remains is for you to select your scenes. I'm just checking in to see how things are going.
Yeah, they're going good. This is kind of like my kind of challenge, I guess. I've had a lot of experience dealing with Shakespeare and putting on Shakespeare productions. But at the same time, the text that I've got, given is out of my comfort zone. It's a play that I wouldn't have normally gone to. So
Which
it's
play is that again?
Coriolanus.
Okay.
So it's an interesting kind of task to try and get your head around the entire play and the entire concept of the play, and then looking specifically at that scene, and then seeing how that can relate to your directing style and tying it all together. So that's becoming a little bit of a challenge, but we're getting through it.
Great. And how has it been working with your actors?
Really good. It's been the dream team. I feel really fortunate with working them. They're great, really great.
Cool. And have you given much thought to your publicity still?
Yeah, so we kind of want to make sure that the publicity still doesn't just encompass the scene, but rather the entire text and the entire play.
Great.
So we think that's really important. So it's giving a hint towards the scene, but at the same time it works for the entire play, we feel, as well.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what you do.
Thank you.
Great. Hey, Raph, I'm just checking in on how things are going today. How have you been approaching your rehearsal process?
Well, so far we've just been working through the text because I really believe that you really need to get an understanding of the text before you can start working and knowing with what the sort of themes and ideas that you're dealing with and how to explore them.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about the text itself that you're working with?
Well, at first I got Henry VIII, and I thought almost that I'd pulled the short straw in a way because it's kind of ranked as one of, you probably shouldn't think about it in ranking, but it's kind of often thought as one of his lesser plays. But the scene that actually I was presented with was a really, really strong scene, and I've really, really enjoyed the themes of the scene and the ideas of the scene and the language of the scene. And yeah, so the way that the sort of dynamic between Catherine and Cardinal Wolsey is really, really interesting. And there's loads and loads of stuff to explore there between gender and religion, authority, institutions. And so, yeah, no, I'm actually, now that we've worked on the scene, I'm incredibly happy with the scene, and I can't wait to put it on. Yeah.
Great. Have you given much thought yet to the publicity still?
I have thought of an idea, actually, similar almost to the Two Noble Kingsmen. Similar, I definitely want to frame it around Catherine. I think Catherine's the most interesting character, and definitely her interactions with religion and the difference between institutionalized systematic religion and personal religion. And I think that I will probably try to center the publicity around that.
So Alex, I'm just checking in to see how the process has been so far and what you're up to.
Really good, actually. I'm really, really enjoying it. Sort of developing new ideas as I go along in terms of what we're doing with it. So we started by, we first identified that two of our performers have never done Shakespeare before, and we're sort of anxious about that. One of them was a bit more confident. So focusing more on grounding it within relatable examples, so modern day examples, and really working through the text and finding out what people want, what they're showing and what they're not showing, because a lot of this scene is comedic in the sense that it relies on the audience knowing what the characters want, but the other characters try not to show their intentions. Cool. So the comedy comes from that, so we're trying to work out that. And then I've never done this before, but we've been assigning sort of animals that sort of based on their speech patterns or the way they're speaking, that sort of fit those characters. So we've got like a bee, a butterfly and a beetle, and those have really dictated the sort of movement and blocking. So like the beetle's quite static, the butterfly is quite fairy, and then we'll only come over when the conversation concerns them, and then the bee sort of like dictates the conversation and is sort of very rampant but sort of locks down on certain topics. So yeah.
And have you given any thought to your publicity still?
Not yet. That's going to be a product of what comes out when we get it on its feet, but I'm deciding whether it's an image in which contextualizes the piece, because a lot of the comedy comes from that, or having something which presents an image which then is then subverted within the scene or is presented apart from that.
Yeah, I think that's about it.
Brilliant, thank you.
I'll see it tomorrow.
Brilliant.
Great. Emily, how are things going today?
Things are going all right. I was very stressed this morning, but I kind of got into it when I realised it was a Shakespeare challenge, because that's something I really enjoy. I'm really enjoying actually the scene that we've got and the actors that I'm working with. Yeah, it's going well, I think.
What was your initial approach to the rehearsal space?
So initially my kind of priority was cutting the text, because we got quite a long scene from Julius Caesar, and it's very kind of dialogue heavy. There's not a lot of kind of imagery to work with there. I think I had to really stage it as a scene. So for me, it was all about getting rid of the bits of the text that I could cut without kind of losing the structure of the scene and the meaning of the scene. And then post that, I cast the actors, and then I actually sent them away for half an hour because I wanted some time to think about my approach to the concept for a production as a whole. And then they've just come back and we're now blocking the scene. But like, I'm really glad that I had that time to myself to think about it.
And what have you been thinking about in terms of the publicity stuff?
I'm actually setting it in Soviet Russia because I didn't want to just set it in modern political times, but clearly Julius Caesar is a very political play. And that's been that's been really exciting for me because it is something that I'm interested in. It's kind of the politics of Soviet Russia in the 60s. But at the same time, I'm trying to make sure that I get things accurate.
Great. I'm looking forward to seeing your piece tomorrow.
Thank you.
Cool. I'm checking in to see how things are going today.
Yeah, they're going good. I've got a group of actors that I didn't get to pick, as you saw, and have never worked with any of them before, which is actually really nice. The scene that we're working on is the Hecate scene from Macbeth, which is an interesting one to be working with because it's often cut from performances because it kind of doesn't add anything to the plot. It's a bit irrelevant and apparently might not have even been written by Shakespeare, but you know. So it's an interesting scene to be working with because even though I feel like I've done Macbeth to death, I've never come across this scene before.
Have you given much thought to your publicity still?
That is the hardest part of the challenge, I think, for me, because I've never been the publicity side of anything. But I think I'm hoping that with the scene, the ideas will come. I don't think you can do a publicity shot without kind of knowing what the aesthetic of the piece is going to look like at the end. So I'm kind of hoping that working with the scene for a while will bring some ideas. But yeah, it will be interesting because that's not something I've never done publicity, so.
So you have a scene that's not often performed and actors you've not worked with before. What was the initial process in the rehearsal space?
We just picking apart the scene really to begin with and trying to place it in the context of the play, so that we could kind of figure out what was going on. It started quite like sitting, chatting, then we did some yoga, because, you know, yoga's always good. And now we're just sort of messing around with improvising and, yeah, it's not a very structured process, but it's fun.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing all the scenes tomorrow. So see you then.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome, directors, to your third showcase. Alex, for this challenge you have immunity and cannot be eliminated, but for the rest of you, only 3 of you will be going on to our next challenge. This week, we've asked you to direct a scene of Shakespeare in under 3 minutes. You have also been asked to create a publicity still, either for the scene or for a larger production based on what you showed us today. Our judges today are myself, Dr. Will Schuler, you know Dr. Bryce Solis, senior lecturer in the Department of Drama, Theater, and Dance, and our guest judge today is Ben Izo. Ben is a literary agent at Abrams Artists NYC. Thanks for joining us, Ben.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Ben, this isn't our first reality show together, actually.
No, it's not. It's not. Will and I have a bit of a history with reality shows, actually.
We were both viewers in a television show called Work of Art, The Next Great Artist. That's right, art's in the title of that show twice. And they would make pieces of art and invite people to come see it as part of sort of gallery exhibitions, and we were in it, and one of my snide comments of it made the show. So. And from there, the rest is history.
Will's reality career was born.
I'm glad you're here with us.
I'm very glad to be here.
So Dan, I think you're first today. Great, let's see your show.
So I've been given the play of Coriolanus, and we've decided to interpret it through a feminine lens, and specifically this particular scene is right at the beginning of the play. It's Act 1, Scene 3, and we've kind of taken a concept of looking at the role of women in war. So this particular scene has the concept is almost dystopian World War II, so we haven't set it in a particular side due to historical inaccuracies between the text and the literal history, and also ethical issues surrounding that, but it kind of invokes a sense of that time and period in order to transcend throughout time to speak about the role of women in wartime. And here's our publicity poster.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I pray you, daughter, sing, or express yourself in a more comfortable sort. If my son were my husband, I should freely rejoice in that absent, wherein he won honour, than the embracement of his bed where he would most show love. To a cruel war I sent him, from whence he returned, his brows bound with oak. I tell thee, daughter, I do not sprung, not more in joy, than at first hearing he was a man-child, than at first seeing himself proved himself a man.
But had he died in the business, madam? How then?
Then his good reports should have been my son. I therein would have found issue. Hear me profess sincerely, had I a dozen sons, each of love alike, and none less dear than thine, and my good Marcius, I had rather 11 sons die nobly for their country than one voluptuously surfeit out of action.
My ladies both, good day to you.
Sweet madam.
I'm glad to see your ladyship. How do you both? You manifest housekeepers. What are you sewing here? A fine spot, in good faith. How does your little boy? I thank your ladyship well, good madam.
You'd rather see swords and hear a drum than look upon his toys?
For my word, a father's son. Aye, 'tis a very pretty boy. Crack, madam. Oh, come. Lay aside your stitchery and play the idle housewife with me this afternoon. No, good madam, I will not out of doors. Not out of doors?
She shall. She shall.
Indeed, no, by your patience. I'll not over the threshold till my lord returns from the wars. You would be a regular Penelope. Yet they say that she did all the yarn she spun in Ulysses' absence, did but fill Ithaca full of moths. Come, I would your cambric be as sensible as your finger, that you may leave pricking it for pity. No, good madam, I will not forth. In truth, La, if you come with me, then I will tell you excellent news of your husband. Oh, there can be none yet. Verily, I do not jest. There came news of him last night. Indeed, madam? In earnest, it's true. The army, the Issus have an army that has gone forth, and Cominius, the emperor, is gone. One part of our Roman power, with your lord and Titus Lartius, they have come to Corioli, the city. In truth, they will be prevailing and will not be leaving it to brief wars. Come with us. In truth, this is the truth. No, give me good excuse. I will obey you in everything hereafter.
Leave her, madam.
As she is now. But in truth,
As she will. Disease are better mirth.
in truth, I think you might be right. Fare you well then. Come, sweet lady, pretty Virgilia. I pray you to throw your countenance out of doors and come with us.
No, indeed, by a word I will not go. I wish you much mirth.
Oh then, farewell.
So the piece that I was given was Henry VIII, or as we have renamed it, Catherine of Aragon, as we thought that the central conflict between the antagonist and the protagonist had Cardinal Wolsey as the antagonist, and the central opposition in the play seemed to be between Cardinal Wolsey and Catherine. So we wanted to put her, give her more of a lens towards her, because we thought that she was the character with much more of a purpose in the play. So the poster tries to encapsulate some of the themes that we felt were prevalent in the play, such as the difference between personal faith and religious institutions. So the scene takes place just shortly after Catherine has left a trial, where it's been headed in the way that she is going to be divorced from Henry VIII. And in this scene, Cardinal Wolsey, who is a clear advocate to Henry VIII for Catherine's divorce, has come with another cardinal in the guise of counselling her and consoling her.
Peace to your highness. May it please you, noble madam, to withdraw into your private chamber. We shall give you the full cause of our coming.
Speak it here. Truth loves open dealing.
Tanta esterga, de merites integritas.
Oh, good my lord, no Latin. Pray, speak in English.
Noble lady, we come not by the way of accusation to taint that honour every good tongue blesses, nor to betray you any way to sorrow. You have too much, good lady. But to know how you stand minded in the weighty difference between the king and you, and to deliver, like free and honest men, our just opinions and comforts to your cause.
Most honoured madam, my Lord of York, out of his noble nature, zeal and obedience, which he still bore your grace, forgetting, as a good man, your late censure, both of his trust and of him, which was too far, offers, as I do, in a sign of peace, his service and his counsel.
To betray me? My lords, I thank ye both for your good wills. Ye speak like honest men. Pray God ye prove so.
I would your grace would leave your griefs and take my counsel.
How, sir?
Put your main case into the king's protection. He's much loving and most gracious. For if the trial of the law overtake ye, you'll part away disgraced.
He tells you rightly.
You tell me what you wish for both. My ruin. Is this your Christian counsel? Out upon ye. Heaven is above all rest. There sits a judge that no king can corrupt.
Your rage mistakes us.
The more for ye. Oh men, I thought ye.
Madam, this is a mere distraction. You turn the good we offer into envy.
And ye turn me into nothing. Woe upon ye and all other false professors. What can be of me from all this wretchedness? All of your studies, and I'm the curse of this. Am I, and all my full affections, still set before the king? Still love him next to heaven? Almost forget to pray to content him? And am I thus rewarded? Ye have angels' faces, but heaven knows your hearts.
The scene I've been working on is Act 3, Scene 5 from All's Well That Ends Well. I'm just going to give a bit of context to the scene because it relies upon quite a lot of knowledge that's been brought up until this moment. So on stage we have three characters. We have the widow, we have Diana, and we have Mariana. Diana is the daughter of the widow. Across over there is the army, the Florentine army, in which the French army, which the Count of France, Bertram and Paroles are. They are talking and they're in the scene. Then a pilgrim arrives, or Helena, dressed as a pilgrim, arrives. Helena is a part of the French court. She was a part of a marriage deal with Bertram that went false, and Bertram decided not to marry her. In this scene, they are talking about the girl, Helena, but she's described, who is dressed as a pilgrim, and they don't know that they are the girl she's talking about. This is the publicity image, which is based on just this scene and contextualising this scene.
Come, let's return again and suffice ourselves with the report of it. Well, Diana, take heed of this French earl. The honour of a maid is in her name, and no legacy is so rich as honesty.
I have told my neighbour how you have been solicited by a gentleman whose companion.
I know that knave, hang him, one Paroles. Filthy officer he is, and no suggestions for the young earl. Beware of them, Diana, their promises, enticements, oaths, tokens, and all these engines of lust are not things they go under. Many a maid hath been seduced by them, and the misery is example that so terrible shows in the wreck of maidenhood cannot for all that dissuade succession, but that they are lined with the twigs that threaten them. I hope I need not to advise you further, but that I hope your own grace will keep you where you are, though there are no further danger known but the modesty which is so lost.
You shall not need to fear me.
Oh, I hope so. Oh, look, here comes a pilgrim. I know she will lie at my house. Thither they send one another. I'll question her. Oh, God save you, pilgrim. Whither are you bound?
To St. Jacques-le-Grand. Where do the Palmers lodge, I do beseech you?
At St. Francis, here beside the port.
Is it this way?
Aye, marry, Ister, hark you, they will come this way, if you will but tarry. But till the troops come by, I shall lead you where you shall be lodged. Rather, I think I know your hostess as ample as myself.
Is it yourself?
Aye, if you shall please say, pilgrim.
I thank you, and will stay upon your leisure.
You came, I think, from France?
I did so.
Here you shall see a countryman of yours who has done worthy service.
His name, I pray you?
The Count Roussillon. Know you such a one?
But by the ear that hears so nobly of him, his face I know not.
Whatsoe'er he is, he's bravely taken here. He stole from France, as 'tis reported, for the king married him against his liking. Think you 'tis so?
Aye, surely, mere the truth. I know his lady.
There is a gentleman that serves him that reports but coarsely of her.
What's his name?
Monsieur Paroles.
Oh, I believe with him. In the argument of praise, she is too mean to have her name repeated. And all her deserving is of reserved honesty, and that I have not heard examined.
Alas, poor lady. 'Tis a harsh bondage for a woman to be married to such a detesting lord.
I warrant, good creature, wheresoe'er she is, her heart weighs heavy, for this young maid might do her a shrewd turn, if she should please.
How do you mean? Maybe the amorous count solicits her in the unlawful purpose?
Indeed he does, and brokes with all that can in such a suit corrupt the tender honour of a maid. But she is armed for him, and keeps her guard in honestest defence.
I was given Julius Caesar, and the scene is right at the start of the play. It's Act 1, Scene 2. So this is a meeting between Cassius, Brutus, and their fellow conspirator Casca, who are, plotting to stop Caesar taking the crown. We wanted to kind of not set it in modern day times because that's being done so much at the moment, and I'm kind of sick of seeing Shakespeare in office wear. So, and I didn't also want to go down the Roman route because that's also been done. So we wanted to find something that was kind of politically relevant and settled on Soviet Russia, because I believe there's a similar kind of air of tension and kind of secrecy that really, for me, captures the kind of feeling of the play. And also, there's a lot of talk in this scene about kind of the people, and that for me kind of had resonance with certain communist ideals. The publicity has been done to reflect that. So this is publicity for what it would look like if it were an entire show, showing the actors and using fonts which are kind of invoke Soviet propaganda posters.
Thank you so much.
Tell us what chance today that Caesar looks so sad.
Why, a crown was offered him, and being offered him, he took it to the back of his hand. Thus, the people were shouting.
Who offered him the crown?
Why, Antony.
Tell us the manner of it, gentle Casca.
It was mere foolery. I did not mark it. I saw Mark Antony offer him a crown, and as he refused it, the Ramblement hooted and clapped their chapped hands and threw up their sweaty nightcaps and drew out such a deal of bad breath because Caesar had refused the crown that had almost choked Caesar. He swooned and fell down on it. I durst not laugh for the fear of opening my lips and receiving the bad air.
But soft, I pray you. What, did Caesar swoon?
He fell down at the marketplace, foamed at mouth, and was speechless.
What said he when he came unto himself?
Marry, before he fell down, he perceived the common herd. They were glad that he had refused the crown. And then...
After that, he came thus sad away.
Aye.
Did Cicero say anything?
Aye, he spoke Greek.
To what effect?
Nay, to mine own part, he was Greek to me. Farewell, brothers.
What a blunt fellow is this going to be? He was quick mental when he went to school.
This rudeness is a sauce to his good wit. It gives men stomach to digest his words with better appetite.
And so it is. For this time I will leave you. Come to my house and I will wait for you.
I will do so. Till then, think of the world. Well, Brutus, thou art noble, yet I see thy honourable metal may be wrought. Who, so firm that cannot be seduced? Caesar doth bear me hard, but he loves Brutus. Caesar's ambitions shall be glanced at, and then after this let Caesar seat him sure, for we will shake him, or worse days endure.
Okay, so just to really sicken Emily, I've done Shakespeare in office wear. So the scene that I've got is the Hecate scene from Macbeth, and I'm just kind of going to let it speak for itself a little bit. But the picture that I made it myself, and it's kind of, I wanted to do a picture for the whole thing rather than for just the scene, playing on the idea of the Hecate scene is often omitted from performances of Macbeth, And I sort of did some looking into it, and one of the main things that it has as a scene when it is performed is that it sort of gives stead to the argument that perhaps Macbeth was responsible for his own downfall. It, you know, it balances out the argument. Was it his fault? Was it the fault of the witches? So I quite liked the idea of playing with sort of a noose image, because it's kind of connotative of suicide, but at the same time you've got the female hand holding it, so it's just sort of playing on that kind of dilemma of whose fault it is.
Why? How now, Hecate? You look angry. Have I not reason? Beldams as you are, saucy and overbold. How did you dare to trade and traffic with Macbeth in affairs and riddles of death? And I, the mistress of your charms, the close contriver of all harms, was never called to bear my part,
Or show the glory of our art.
and, which is worse, all you have done hath been but for a wayward son, spiteful and wrathful, who, as others do, loves for his own ends, not for you. But make amends now, get you gone, and at the pit of Acheron, meet me in the morning. Thither he will come to know his destiny. Your vessels and your spells provide. Your charms and everything beside. I will for the air. This night I'll spend unto a dismal and a fatal end. Great business must be wrought ere noon.
Upon the corner of the moon there hangs a vaporous drop profound. I'll catch it ere it come to ground, and that, distilled by magic slides, shall raise such artificial sprites, as by the strength of the illusion shall draw him unto his confusion.
He shall spurn fate, scorn death, and bear his hopes of wisdom, grace, and fear. And you all know, security is mortal's chiefest enemy. Hark, I am called. Come. Let's make haste. She'll soon be back again.
Thank you, directors. The judges will now deliberate. You can leave the studio. Great, so let's start with Dan's piece, Coriolanus. For me, this image told more of a story than anything I watched.
I disagree. I like the chemistry across the three women. I thought there was good command of space.
See, I find the image kind of plain. I don't think it tells that much of a story.
For me, the costume was the only choice in this,
Yes.
in the whole thing. I don't know if they knew, if they did much text work, because it didn't seem like they really were understanding what they were saying. And for me, it could have been any words that were coming out in those motions. So let us go on to our second scene, which was Henry VIII, directed by Raff.
Retitled here.
AKA Catherine of Aragon.
This one was very, very tightly put together.
Yes.
There was a minimum of movement. It was well choreographed and timed.
I liked the intrusion on her space, kicking her stockings, sitting in her chair, and then her taking back control of the space. By the end of the scene, it had a good arc to it.
She was able to use that without being too overt about it. It felt like it was signified, but it didn't need to overtake everything else.
So on to Alex's scene, All's Well.
Terrible publicity. Hate it.
All's not well. And this image, whatever I tried to read into it, also seemed disconnected to what we saw, even though they physically were in similar positions.
Yeah. And this tightly packed ensemble actually drove, I felt like, the energy into the ground, which wasn't helped by the use of Skype with this distancing.
Yeah.
Where it was, the energy was low at the very beginning and didn't pick up for me. Again, I didn't feel that the actors had command of the language or a full understanding of maybe its wider resonances throughout the rest of the play, or what does this scene do?
Julius Caesar.
I quite like this image. I feel like this clearly denotes exactly what she was going for.
Yeah, it tells a story.
Yeah, and it's immediately attractive. Like I get what it is in just one brief glance.
What do we think about fake smoking on stage? Can we start with that?
Yeah.
I never want to see fake smoking on stage.
It was like I wanted them to be busy doing something.
Yeah, give them something they can do.
Yeah,
give
I
them a
didn't trust
task
them
they can
with
actually
the words and each other. I thought there was a lack of connection to the audience. Harry has this sort of direct address bit at the end, and he sort of gave it to his socks, you know. And I'm like, we're here, we're watching this live, you know, and it seemed like it wasn't for us. Okay, so that leaves us to the Scottish play. I actually, despite having seen lots of Shakespeare set in office wear, have never seen witches in office wear before.
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
love the
I love
idea
the idea
of a
too.
witch having to like do some paperwork for
Yeah.
her witchery.
Well, this is where the
And
business fits with
admin.
the concept.
Yeah,
Yes,
the sort of admin of having to be a witch. Like I thought it was working.
I don't like the image though.
No,
I think the
no.
image is.
And she
it
said-
feels like things I've seen for Caesar.
And also, I wanted invitation for us to think about it as sort of like giving oneself enough rope to hang themselves with, which seemed to be how Hannah was inviting us to think about what this scene does to the play.
The larger context was missing for me. I thought that it was interesting to watch the witches do office work, but I didn't get how that could necessarily work into the larger concept with the play too.
This one, I
Just
felt
distracting.
that more than any, the performers had comfort with the text and had nuance in what they were saying, which demonstrated to me an understanding of what they were saying.
I love the idea of the charms as office labor. I really do think that's really inventive, actually. There was an uneven delivery of the text, and I think she needs to play more with levels. Bring them in.
Welcome back, directors. The judges have had a chance to review and score all of the scenes, and we have come to a decision. Raph and Hannah, would you both step forward, please? Raph and Hannah, congratulations. You guys have the highest scoring scenes this week.
I'll start with Raph. We liked the poster. We thought it had great ambiguity. There were very strong color and font choices. There was something, interestingly, I thought, Godfather about it. But the fact that it is one image from a distance, and as you come closer, you detect a different image inside of it, already means that there's a kind of interactivity engagement with it. There were very strong entrances, interesting work vocally, good on punctuation, and even that the two men were kind of stilted, which we thought really put pressure on the idea that they were honest men. We liked the ripping off of the crucifixes, but the one complaint was that actually Catherine is a Catholic and would never throw them on the floor. They would always remain. It's that they weren't deserving of them.
Yeah, that was the thought, yeah.
But congratulations.
And Hannah, for us, we thought that the office wear for witches was something quite new. I liked the sort of having to go through admin as a witch, and that my witchcraft is a load of paperwork that I have to get through at the end of the day. I thought it was fun. You found a real humor in the scene, and we thought also that your publicity image was inviting, it was clean, it was simple, there wasn't so much happening, and we didn't quite read the arm as a female arm, like you said. It didn't read one way or another to us, but generally it was interesting, and for me, I could read into your conceit of this scene balancing it more towards his fault and that the idea of a noose would be giving someone enough rope to hang themselves by, which was how I interpreted it, which I thought was quite thoughtful. So, congratulations to Raph. Congratulations, you're the winner of this challenge. You can have a seat. Congratulations. Would Alex, Dan, and Emily step forward, please? Alex, I'm going to start with you. For you, it was really, really good that you had the immunity this week, because for us, this was the weakest of the links. I thought that while you started with some interesting shapes on stage, and I liked the silhouettes of the performers, we felt that the relationships between the characters became unclear. We felt that a lot of the energy of the piece got sucked into the ground from their positionality. We weren't quite sure how much the technology added to the story or what was happening in the scene, particularly after the Skype thing ended. We felt the computer was sort of moving around the area in a way we couldn't quite interpret the meanings behind. So we're going to have to see some stepping it up in next week. For Dan and Emily.
Emily, we thought that the concept and the still were actually quite clear and simple, which we appreciated, but we didn't feel that it necessarily was, the concept was pulled all the way through. The conspiratorial nature didn't really play to us. We didn't feel this tension, secrecy between them, and the energy of the piece fell a bit flat as well. It needed a little more energy.
Dan, we felt that the style of it was a strong decision, that aesthetically there were choices made, but that beyond that, it didn't have much flow or move to it. We felt that some of the actions were abandoned. The baby sort of just got tossed into a bucket at one point, and I was like, well, that's not a baby then, is it? And also there was a moment of a private conversation between just two of them, but the other person was just clearly able to hear. So it wasn't secret, and we were sort of weren't sure how we were supposed to really read this. It looked too stagey at bits. So I only have one more picture left in my hands. I'm sorry, Dan. That means that this is the end of the road for you. But thank you so much for competing with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
For the rest of you, there will be one more challenge with one more elimination, and 3 of you will be going on to our finale with a live audience in the Carroll Churchill Theatre. See you next week.
Yeah, I think they gave fair feedback. I knew from the beginning of picking up that damn play that this would be a problematic week, and I feel like it's been very much like the luck of the draw on that. I think that it was, as I said, it was quite a difficult challenge. I tried to build on my feedback from the first week, where Will was like, try and look at something different stylistically, because he sort of made comparisons between my decisions and Abby's decisions from last year. So I thought, right, I'll try something complete opposite and do something relatively naturalistic, which I personally hate, right? And yeah, I in my gut, I kind of knew it was coming. And yeah, I think it was fair comments. And I think with a bit more time, we could have polished it out to make it look a little bit better, but that's the way it goes.